So in this video I'm just going to talk about choosing your fusings. So I just have the selection of fusings here in the background. So just to go over the fusings, there are fusings, first of all, fabric that you with an iron heat up and it glues onto your fabric, and it acts as a kind of a stabilizer. It holds the fabric in place, it strengthens it. So it's used in many places, particularly cuffs, collars, hems of garments, places like that. So selecting the fusing is important. There's all different types, from really lightweight to stiff, and then heavier weight that is more flexible. So that's what we have here. So in the classroom, we have 3 types of fusing in white, and the same 3 types in the grey or black. So really these 3 here are exactly the same as these, just a different colour. Now there's a much broader range, and you can look into those and get, as a designer, get used to picking out the ones that you particularly like, or the ones that particularly work with certain fabrics and stuff. So it's a good area to explore. But really what we have here is a kind of a lightweight fusing, and this is what we call a firm fusing. So it's very stiff, and if you were to fuse that on to something, it would be kind of very stiff and like kind of crunchy. So it holds those stiff edges for nice pointy collars, nice sharp cuffs. So that's what you use it for. Waistband collars and cuffs really is what you use this for. This is the more appropriate fusing for facings and other things that go in behind the garment and that are just like for the edge. So the edge for hems and facings and things, okay? But this is quite lightweight. Sometimes your fabric is a bit maybe thicker, or or just the fabric itself just needs a little more body, and you can use something like that. So it's important to test your fusings on your actual fabric. So take your fabric and take a little piece of each selection of fusing, feel what it's like, and see, is it matched and is it giving you the desired effect for your garment. So here's our 3 main fusings, and just to note that there is actually a direction on the fusings, particularly this fusing here. If I pull along the sort of grain line, so in terms of there is a sort of straight of grain on the fusing, and you want to try and coordinate that with the straight of grain of your pattern. So I can see a pull here, there isn't much resistance here, maybe a little more, but if I go again on the bias to see how stretchy it is. So you want that to match if with your pattern pieces. So here I have some pieces placed down, so like that, this is kind of more the grain, so I have it placed along the grain line. So line it up and then you can cut it out, and when I cut the fusing, I like to cut it slightly smaller than my pieces, so I might first just cut around. But fusing is very messy. When you go to use the iron and fuse it to it, if there's excess over like this and you press down, all of that will stick onto your ironing board. So this is why we recommend using paper, so that if there's paper underneath and on top, if a little bit of excess fusing is there, it will stick to the paper rather than the board. I'm just in the habit of trimming my fusing down smaller, so that it's a couple of millimeters smaller than the pattern itself. This is all inside the seam allowance, of course, so it is fine. And in fact, professionally, you might see that there would be a separate pattern piece for the fusing on a garment, and it would be a couple of millimeters smaller, because it only makes sense to cut it a few millimeters smaller, so that when you go to place it on the iron. So if I go now and iron that, there's much less risk that something will come through and go onto the ironing board. The other thing, actually, to be sure that you find which side of the fusing has the glue on it. So I bring these back again, and so in our 3 samples, this has a kind of fabricy soft side, and then on this side there's all little bubbles and bumps. Those bubbles and bumps are the glue, so you need to be sure to have the glue side facing down, facing the fabric, and it would face the wrong side of the fabric. Okay, on this one, similar. This side's all soft and fluffy. This side has kind of bumps. You can feel there's something hard. That is the glue. And this side is different, or this one is different. It doesn't have any bumps, so it's maybe a little bit harder to tell. But actually, and it may be hard to see in the video, but there is a shine on this side. And I can see it, and it is the glue. So sometimes the glue is kind of the shiny side. So again, if you were using that, you'd need to place the glue side down onto the fabric and iron on this side. Okay, and just remember when you are fusing pieces, particularly like here is a little facing, that I would have two opposite pieces. So here's like a mini little neck facing for a sample garment, and I wouldn't want to cut two of the same side, okay, and then fuse, because then I'd say have two left sides to my garment, and the fusing would match the left side and left side. So you want to always have opposites. The next stage really is pressing with the iron the fusing onto this. So I'm here now at the ironing board, and I'm ready to fuse this on with the iron. So I'm going to put, this is a bit of newsprint, which is nice because it's slightly porous, this paper. So I'm going to place that down underneath my piece. I'm testing the iron by placing the iron on the board like that, and I feel the board just to see is it hot. Okay, and then I can take the other side of the newsprint. You can use any paper that you like. Press over, and now I'm going to press. So remember, pressing is different to ironing. Ironing is where you move the iron around. Pressing is holding it straight down into position and lifting it off. And so we're setting this, we're trying to melt the glue on the back of this so that it secures onto our fabric. Okay, and this is very thin, and if you place the iron straight on this, even though the glue is on the other side, sometimes it melts the fabric, and the whole thing just sticks to the iron anyway. Okay, so I'm placing that there, and then press down and maybe count 1, 2, 3, 4. A little bit hot. So you can kind of see, has it been fused? I usually just leave it a second. And then what I'm doing with my fingers is going like this to check that the two have been fused together. So if you get a time, I can see it sort of nearly scorched the paper, so that might have been too long, or maybe the iron is a little hot. So maybe we'll do 3 this time. 1, 2, 3. And you can check to see, is it fusing? And then you know your count. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and there's a little piece here that I missed, so you can just go back and see that. Okay, and if there is a spot, or if it didn't fuse the first time, you can always go back and, you know, go again. But if you put the hot iron on so much that it melts the whole thing off, that you won't be able to recover it. So you're better off going on the safe side. Start with maybe 3 seconds, 4 seconds. With thicker fusings and thicker fabrics, you might be easily up to 5 to 10 seconds. Okay, and so that's our piece fused, and so it feels different now. It's more, there's more body to it. Okay, so that is fusing onto your pattern pieces.